Imagine being so powerful that even when you entered a room, your closest friends feel nervous. Imagine ruling a country so huge that it stretched across 11 time zones. 11. Now imagine being responsible for turning a country into a global power while also becoming one of the most feared leaders in human history. That's the story of Joseph Stalin. People who hate, people who love, but trust me, some of the things you are about to hear from me right now is history. It's more like a crime thriller. Most people know Stalin as the dictator of Soviet Union. Hello. But what many people don't know is that Stalin wasn't even his real name. He was born as Loseb, which some Russian name, which was a part of Russian Empire at that time. He became a very prominent name in the Russian history. His father was a shoemaker who used to drink a lot. He has scars on his face, which his father has given him while he has hit him, and he also had severe smallpox. So when people look at Stalin's later life, they see a powerful dictator, but his childhood was filled with hardship, violence, and survival. And maybe that's the only one reason that he became the man we everyone know. So here's what I this is the take of what I have understood. Before becoming the leader of the superpower, Stalin was basically a revolutionary outlaw. To raise money for his communist movement, he was involved in underground activities like bank robberies and other criminal operations. Think about it for a second. It was strange to me also, but when I researched about him, this was true. A future world leader, a man who would control millions of soldiers, once helped rob banks. Imagine a former bank robber suddenly became the ruler of one third of the world's land. It's nearly impossible to believe, and literally that's what happened. When Vladimir Lenin died in 1924 something, people expected someone else to take control, but Stalin was very patient, very patient. While other politicians gave speeches, argued publicly, Stalin quietly built connections behind the scenes. One by one, his rivals disappeared from power. They were expelled. They were not into picture at all. Some were arrested. Some simply vanished from public life. They went somewhere else. In the late 1920s, Stalin had become the most powerful man in the Soviet Union. And once he got power, he wasn't interested in sharing it. Nobody's interested in sharing power. Now, let's talk about the good side first, because history becomes boring when we pretend people are only heroes, nor only villains. Under Stalin, the Soviet Union transferred incredibly fast. The country went from being most rural and agricultural becoming one of world's biggest industrial powers. Factories appeared everywhere. Railways expanded. Massive infrastructure projects were built. He was behind it. And when Adolf Hitler invaded World War II, the Soviet Union played the biggest role in defeating the Nazi Germany with their contribution and partnerships. Many Soviet citizens genuinely saw Stalin as the man who helped save their country. That's one reason why millions of people supported him. Not because they were forced to. Many truly believed in him. But now we need to talk about the disturbing side nobody's gonna talk about. This is where the story gets dark, very dark. Stalin became obsessed with enemies. Not just real enemies, imaginary enemies too. Can you believe it? He began ordering massive purges. Government officials, military officials, scientists, party members, even people who had supported him for years, he was behind him. Nobody felt safe. Nobody felt anything around him. Imagine waking up 3 a.m. and hearing a knock on your door. For many people in Stalin's Soviet Union, the sound was terrifying because it could mean arrest. And once you disappeared into the system, your family might never see you again. That was the fear. Here's one fact many people don't know. Nobody will talk about this. Stalin created such an atmosphere of fear to the people, sometimes avoided mentioning his name incorrectly or even joking about him. Imagine the aura. A bad joke could ruin your life. Imagine living in a country where meme could get you arrested. That time there were no memes, just a metaphor. That's how serious things became. Another disturbing fact, some of Stalin's closest allies, friends who spent years praising him, supporting him, helping him rise into power, and then later many of them were arrested. Anyway, we expected this. Loyalty didn't guarantee safety. This is what my take is. In fact, sometimes being close to Stalin made you more nervous, not less. Because if people he became suspicious, you could lose your position for nothing. But here's something surprisingly strange which I have understood. Stalin didn't look like the image of a people who think he's a dictator. He wasn't partially tall, he didn't have a powerful voice, he had a strong Georgian accent. He was born in Georgia, he was raised in Georgia throughout his whole his life. Some historians even point out that physically he appeared quite ordinary. Imagine a man walking in front of you in the footpath. He was like that. Yet somehow this ordinary looking man once built the most powerful political machines in history, which proves that influence isn't always about appearance. Sometimes it's about patience, strategy, and control. Now I'll give you one more fact which sounds unbelievable. Schools, posters, newspapers, songs, and public events constantly praised Stalin. His image was everywhere. Children were taught to thank him for their happy childhoods. Imagine the propaganda. People called him the father of nations. This was the title given to him. A huge cult of personality grew around him. Imagine opening Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Netflix, every billboard in a city, every school textbook, and seeing the same person everywhere. That's how the situation was. That's the level of influence Stalin had. Now, how should we remember Joseph Stalin? A hero? A villain? A genius? A monster? The truth is always probably more complicated. He helped transform the Soviet Union into a superpower. There is no doubt about it. He played a major role in defeating Nazi Germany. He did. But his rules was also marked by fear, repression, immense human suffering. That's why historians still debate him today. Because few leaders in history achieved so much power, and a few leaders left behind such a complicated legacy. Stalin left that. The next time you hear the name Joseph Stalin, don't just think of a dictator. Think of a poor boy from Georgia, a bank robber, a revolutionary, a wartime criminal, a wartime leader, a ruler feared by millions, and a man whose shadow still hangs around the history more than 70 years after his death. See, big people, whether people admire him or hate him, one thing is impossible to deny. Joseph Stalin changed the world. He seriously did. Fine, I'll just end this saying this. History isn't interesting because people were good or bad. History is interesting because people were both.